Shalom family and welcome back to the Semitic Jew channel. Well, for those of you who do not know, I am a university professor and I'm currently pursuing a PhD in mathematics with an emphasis in logic. So today I'm going to use those skills and I want you to watch this entire clip with me very carefully. Don't skip it. Listen to the argument that this guy makes.
Hey everybody, I've had a number of people ask for sources to support the claims that I made in that video where I refuted the ludicrous conspiracy theory about Jewish people today, and particularly Ashkenazi Jewish people today, not being real Jewish people. But before I get to those sources, I want to highlight one of the main claims to which I was responding, and that was this notion that Ashkenazi Jewish people are descended from Ashkenaz, one of the names mentioned in the Table of Nations in Genesis 10, and are therefore not Semitic peoples, not real Jewish people. That is a recent reinvention of what's known as the Khazar hypothesis, which is something that was developed in the mid-70s. And this is the notion that Ashkenazi Jewish people are not descended from populations that were located in Palestine and in the Middle East, but are descended from Khazars, groups located in and around Turkey, and that they are only converts to Judaism and are not pure-blooded, so to speak, Jewish people. Now, converts to Judaism are Jewish people, so that doesn't really matter at all. However, this is a heinous conspiracy theory, an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that has been roundly refuted by DNA scientists, by linguists, by archaeologists, by historians, by scholars of all kinds. So the Khazar hypothesis is nonsense, and what was shared in that video to which I was responding was equally nonsense, and I'm going to share some of the sources that support that. I also want to point out that people taking you on a dictionary chase through the different ways to try to define what anti-Semitism is and who real Semites and Jewish people are committing a whole raft of fallacies about which they are not even aware. So you don't have to take that kind of stuff seriously, because dictionaries do not adjudicate meaning and are fundamentally distorting when it comes to conceptual categories anyway. So anyway, here are some sources.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there because I mean he's going to give you some articles and things of that nature. But I mean there's a lot to unpack there from his video. What stood out to me is when people are presenting an argument or when people are presenting rebuttals nowadays, 2026. I don't know when this video was made. I believe it was made in 2022, is according to what I see. I just happened to be researching something related to the Ashkenazi community, and so I saw this video. I think it has like several thousand views. So I was like, let me respond to this. But what I've noticed is people lack critical thinking skills in America. And I'm going to assume he's an American. He's a European American. Critical thinking is dead in 2026 among the vast majority of people. Because what most people will try to do is they will ridicule, they will use adjectives, descriptive words to ridicule and demean, belittle. If I took a survey of how many terms he used to bash this Khazarian theory, as if a theory is not based on some evidence of something. It's as if it's not an intellectual theory. So you got to be careful listening to people like this, because they come off as extremely verbose, and they're using so many words rather than getting to the point. But I want to slow down. I want to slow this down all the way, because what he's arguing is this. He says that the Khazarian theory is not supported and Ashkenazi Jews are not primarily descended from Khazars. Cool. Let's grant him that. But the issue is that doesn't prove what he think it does. Refuting a weak argument, which I'm assuming the theory and the person he was responding to had an underdeveloped argument about the Khazarian theory. And he cited some sources of people who have given some data to refute it. If you had 100 references to refute something, that adds more credibility to the source, but it doesn't make it infallible. That's what people don't understand. Just because you have 50 people that it's kind of like a community note on X, right? People put community notes on things that they consider to be misinformation. But sometimes the information is good. It's just the community doesn't like what is presented. That's an appeal to popularity fallacy. So it's taking what is considered to be a popular opinion, a consensus, and his consensus is, well, scholars said this about the Khazarian theory, therefore I'm going to side with the scholars. That's perfectly fine. Refuting a weak argument does not make your position true. So you have to know how to answer people like him who come off as being logical. Okay? Logic is a science of reasoning. So he did not present that to you in the way that I would have. So all he did was remove one explanation. So now we're right back where we started, right? Because the real question was never, are they Khazars? The real question is, do modern populations like the Ashkenazi Jews, who are predominantly, let's just be frank, they are white passing Europeans, do modern populations like them directly map one-to-one, like a one-to-one function? Do they map directly onto the people described in the biblical text? And so here's where it falls apart, because in that same argument, he tells you that identities change and that populations mix, categories evolve. So by his own admission, I wouldn't even call it logic, it's definitely not formal. It's reasoning, but it's definitely not logic. You cannot claim, according to him, a clean, direct identity continuity. Case closed. By his own admission, which is circular reasoning. So I've already pointed out two errors in this individual's. I believe he's almost up to 1 million followers on X. And so people follow pages like this, and because this person probably he's probably written a book, maybe he has a divinity a degree of something, of some nature. So he's deemed credible to the general public. And I'm not bashing the guy. I'm pretty sure he studies, but you always have to filter your arguments through syllogism, which he obviously didn't do. You can't say that it's complicated, that identities shift, things evolve, and then turn around and imply, but this group is clearly that group. That's inconsistent. So again, removing the Khazar argument does not establish their identity. They think it's like, case closed. We're not the Khazars. Over with. It's a bogus theory. As if it's unfounded. It just removes a weak argument. You can add more information to arguments to make them more developed, which is what he did. He took the general consensus of several people who are probably adamant about, we need to refute this. Let's gather all the data and write a paper and peer review it and get some citations, bibliographies, because when we do that, then the people will believe it. So this is what happens when you redefine the terms and then you pretend that you solve the problem. If you have videos, arguments, or claims that you want me to refute, please send them to me, inbox me, things like this, and you can drop them in the comment section, tag me, because we're going to keep applying logic to the fallacies that we hear from the vast majority of people like this scholar, because we need to refute all of it. Shalom.